So our plan for today is we're covering two more lines of defense. And if you have or plan to get the Hall book, we will ultimately, after today, have covered 4 of the 5 lines of defense, and the 5th is not one that I would worry too much about because it comes up so much less frequently than the others. The 2 that we're covering today are the forcing defense and cutting down roughing power. And I would also describe these 2 as one kind of fits into more of an active approach to defense, like we talked about last time, and the other fits into a more passive approach. So I believe on the handout, leading trump is at the top, but we're actually going to start with the forcing defense and discuss that one first. But if you're leading trump, that is really more of a passive style of defense, but absolutely appropriate when called for. And the forcing defense is definitely more of an attacking defense. So those are qualities of the 2 that we're talking about today. Those qualities do apply. I would say that the forcing defense is probably the most important defensive approach that you probably don't use enough. Because in my experience, the moment Declare, or for that matter dummy, but usually Declare, the moment Declare shows out of a suit and roughs something, you probably give up leading that suit. And a lot of times, you're probably wrong to be giving up leading that suit. Sometimes making Declare rough is not only a good defense, sometimes it's the only defense to beat a hand. And so we want to talk about the criteria. Before we get into some hands, we want to talk about criteria. What are you looking for? How do you know when you should execute a forcing defense? By the way, your goal with a forcing defense is, and if you've ever heard the term tapping Declare, that means you're executing a forcing defense. So that's a synonym for it. A tapping defense is a forcing defense. And your goal is to make Declare rough to the point of losing control of the hand. Because a lot of times Declare doesn't want to rough. They want to get trumps drawn so that they can enjoy a good side suit, some suit that is not trump, without fear of their side suit getting roughed. But you can often disrupt that quite easily. So that's your goal with a forcing defense. So the big question is, how do you know when you're supposed to be doing it? All right, well, I have the criteria up here, and they are on your handout as well. The first one is Declare has a 2-suiter. Now, the bidding won't always reveal to you when Declare has a 2-suiter, but sometimes it will. So, sometimes we get a situation where I open a spade, and you raise my spades, and now I introduce my second suit, and now we end up in game in the major. So that might be an indication. Sometimes we get indications on our conventional hands. Michael's, unusual 2 no trump. Those are hands that show 2 suitors. So sometimes a forcing defense can be very effective there. But that is definitely one thing that you look for. Declare has a 2-suited hand, not a balanced hand. Not even necessarily that side suit. Maybe it's a 5-card suit, maybe it's only a 4-card suit, but a second suit. Now, number 2, this is the one that throws people. And I've actually been this question has come up a lot recently before we got to it, and we maybe mentioned it in passing sometime in the last couple of weeks. You have 4 trumps. Now, why do I say specifically you have 4 trumps? Well, even when your trumps are 4 small, sometimes you can still take control of a hand if you make declare rough. Because if declare had a 5-card suit in the trump suit, and you made declare rough twice, what happens? You have more trumps than they do, right? All of a sudden they're down to 3 because they roughed twice, and you have 4. And so all of a sudden your 4 trumps, even if they're headed by the 7, you have a guaranteed winner because you have more than they do. And this is probably the one that is least intuitive, because what I see all the time is when people have 4 trumps, they lead from shortness. They lead a singleton, or worse yet, doubleton. Horrible lead, almost always. And they're very excited, especially if they actually get a rough. But you know what you're doing? When you have 4 trumps and you rough, you have just made declarer's life easier. It's fool's gold. You got a trick by a rough with a small trump, and you think you did something great. No, you just completely prevented declare from ever losing control of the hand, because you have shortened your trumps. You have done to yourself what you should be doing to declare. But it's counterintuitive, because usually when people see trumps, they think, oh, I want to get a rough. We also have the or think partner does. Now, you don't, sometimes you think partner has trump length and they don't. But sometimes you see situations where it's pretty clear that the opponents are in exactly an 8-card fit. Not a 9 or 10-card fit, but an 8-card fit, which is fine. You know, we play many major suit games, for example, with an 8-card fit. But the bidding will reveal to you that they are in exactly an 8-card fit. And so if you were looking at a singleton trump, you have an indication that partner probably has 4, right? And in that case, maybe your thinking is, oh, well, I should try and get partner a rough because I think partner has trump length. But no, your goal is still the same. You want to make declare a rough, not force partner a rough.
Kurt, so the old rule is don't give them a rough and a slow. No rough and a slow, so that's...
Yeah, usually it's not a good idea to give a rough and slough. There are some situations where it doesn't cost, but when you see our examples today, they're not giving rough and sloughs.
So when you want to make the declare rough, you mean from his hand or whatever side has the longer trumps?
Yes, and that is actually point number 4, which we're coming to here. Now, sometimes the opponents end up in less than an 8-card fit. Maybe they have a very intelligent auction and discover that there's a suit that's wide open, and they don't want to play 3-no. They would otherwise play 3-no, but I have 2 small, you have 2 or 3 small in an unbid suit. Neither of us can bid no trump. And so we settle for maybe a 4-3 or a 5-2 major fit, which is fine because usually that's better than a completely hopeless 3-no, right? Especially when we've had an auction that screams for the lead of an unbid suit. But this is a good time to be thinking about forcing defense. And not even necessarily at the game level, even a part score. Sometimes we're doing this. This could even be, it could be a very simple auction like a spade, a no trump, 2 diamonds, 2 spades, where responder just takes a weak preference to the major. They are probably in a 5-2 fit, right? In that situation. Because responder didn't raise spades right away, right? So they probably don't have 3. So it looks like they're just taking a preference on a doubleton. Okay, so we're in the opponents are in a 5-2 fit. You might want to force them to rough if you can. And that comes down to point 4, which is the question you just asked. Any situation where you think you might be able to force the long hand. Now, terminology. Does everybody know what we're talking about when we talk about the long hand and the short hand? The hand with the trump length. These terms, if we're playing, say, a 4-4 fit, there's no long hand, right? both hands have 4 trumps. This is also why 4-4 fits tend to play better than, say, 5-3 fits. Because you get a little bit of a cushion in how you play the hand. When both the dummy and your hand have 4 trumps, in theory, any roughing that you have to do, you might be able to do roughing in either. You might have a choice of a line of play. You might be able to withstand an attempt at a forcing defense, right? But if one hand is clearly the long hand, I open a spade with my 5-card major and you raise me with 3, then you as the dummy who raised spades, that hand that only has 3 trumps and my hand has 5 trumps, the hand with 5 trumps is the long hand, and that's the hand that you want to make rough. We love to rough and dummy, that's perfect, right? In a lot of suit contracts, the ideal situation is that dummy has shortness somewhere, and we use 1 or 2 of those trumps from the shorthand to rough, and then after we rough whatever we need to, then we draw trump in the long hand, right? That is our goal as declare on a lot of hands. And so as a defender, you can really disrupt that sometimes if you can force the roughs to happen in the long hand rather than in the short hand.
Does any of this apply if the fit is 4-4 for them?
I mean, it could come up in a 4-4 fit, especially if they start to draw trump, and then you make them rough in one hand, and then all of a sudden one hand has 3,
Okay.
and the other has 4. Or if let's say they've drawn a couple rounds of trump, and so there's 2 and 2, but then you rough in one hand. This actually came up last hand of the day. Denise may remember this in Loveland on Saturday. They were in a 4-4 heart fit. And I had a singleton, and I knew they were in a 4-4 heart fit because the opening bidder had opened a minor, and I had bid spades, and my left-hand opponent made a negative double. They ended up in 4 hearts. So I made my lead, and when the dummy came down with 4 hearts, because I hadn't gotten a heart opening in my right, I knew they were in a 4-4 fit. And so what I wanted to do was make declare rough at least once, ideally more, but at least once in hand, because I very strongly suspected that partner had 4 trumps, which she did. And she scored 2 of her 4 trumps, even though declare had king, queen, and jack. Because eventually we made him rough with his jack. So yeah, it can be done. And it will work. I have an example that I hopefully we'll get to, where we can actually, where force will work even when declare has as many as 6 trumps. You might think, oh, that's too many trumps. We can't do that. And some hands you can. So, this is the when. When do we force? When these conditions, not all of them, but any of them, might indicate to us that we should be thinking about a forcing defense. So what's the how? We know when we should do it. How do we do it? How do we know what we're supposed to lead to make the force happen? Sorry, I'm actually hearing Obi-Wan Kenobi in my head. Use the force. So what we want to do, and you will see this, and this will, I think, become much more clear when we get our first example of it. You want to lead the defense's longest, best suit. That's the part that's counterintuitive. Don't lead your short suit when you want to force. Lead your long suit. Now, it's not always completely clear, but you got to take your best shot. Sometimes your hand isn't that distributional and you don't necessarily have a long suit. But let's your side's longest suit. As best you can tell what that suit is. So I'm going to put you in the west seat.
Went down to the aisle except for that one over here.
Okay, that's your hand. 4-2-2-5. So your long suit is clubs, and it's also your best suit, headed by King Jack 10. Right? And you hear this auction. So South is going to declare 4 spades. On an auction where South opened a spade, North raised spades, South came back with 3 diamonds. No alerts or anything, so just assume everything is completely natural. The 3 diamonds is just a game try. Natural second suit. And clearly North has accepted the game try. So it sounds like maybe North has something in diamonds, or is just at the top of their bid. Whatever would, make accepting that game try appealing. All right, so you're on lead to 4 spades with this hand. What do you want to lead? What do you think? What would you want to lead if I'd thrown this hand up and we hadn't had any discussion first? You have 4 trumps. They're not very good. 4 spades to the 7, right? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you led your doubleton heart. Sorry. A little bit of nausea there. Can you tell I don't like doubleton leads? My partner hasn't been the suit. Okay, well, remember, defense process of elimination. I would hope that at the very least that you could eliminate diamonds and spades. I don't see any benefit to leading a trump. That's probably just going to help declare. That would be way too passive in this situation, I think. And declare bid diamonds, right? Your ace of diamonds is going nowhere. And partner's not a favorite to hold the king. So if you think I'm going to play ace of diamonds and a diamond and get a ruff, that's misguided. So I hope you're leading in mid suit. And I actually want you to lead your longest and strongest suit. I want you to lead a club here. That may look to you like you're giving away a trick, but it's actually very unlikely. And remember, in the situations where you attack, we would want you to do the same thing. If we were going with the active defense, we would want you to lead a club. I would personally just lead 4th best, I think, from this holding, by the way. In theory, you could lead Jack as top of an interior sequence, but for this all to work, you probably need partner. I mean, for you to have a real chance to set this thing, you probably need partner to have queen or ace anyhow, right? So I think it's actually better that you just make your length rather than the Jack, just so that we're not lessens the chances of crashing partner's honor when partner is shorter in clubs. So I think I'd probably just, if my normal length lead is 4th best, I think I'd go with 4th best. Okay, have I talked everybody into a 4th best club opening lead?
Yes.
Good. All right, so let's go ahead and lead the 6. All right, dummy appears. No surprises here. 3 spades, 3 trumps to the Jack there. There's Queen Jack 7 of hearts. King Queen 5 of diamonds. The better diamonds were actually in the dummy. Yeah, I mean, I would be accepting a game try. I mean, it's a flat hand, it doesn't have any roughing value, but you probably have cards that partner's looking for, right? And you are at the top of your 2 spade bid. You've got the full 9 points. And I think when partner rebids diamonds, I think your hand gets better. Partner would probably be looking for a diamond honor or 2, and you have king queen. So hopefully you're accepting the game try with that hand. Partner's hand, as expected, only 1 trump over there. Partner has a bunch of hearts. Partner has 4 little diamonds and 1 other card here, ace doubleton of clubs. what does that leave declare? Very good spades, ace, king, queen, 10, 5.